Hey, welcome back to Unplayable, your favorite show about our favorite games. I'm D-House, as always here with the motley crew of unlistenable hosts. Mike, how you doing?
Pretty good. A little tired today, but in general, it's a good week.
Also, Mike, also known as the Guy Fieri of gaming podcasts.
Yeah, board game Guy Fieri. That's gonna be my new handle.
Self-proclaimed.
That's good. And Jay's here.
Zach proclaimed.
Zach proclaimed. All right, Jay, how you doing?
I am doing well. I have to also say I haven't given you credit, but our intro, I love the saying that you on the spot came up with.
Oh my gosh, I think that's the
so
first compliment you've ever given me in our friendship.
I've never heard Jay say
Are you sick?
You're ruining it. I take it all back.
That was
ugly.
I'm not used to like sentiment here. This is I don't know what to do with that, but thank you. You're so kind.
Yeah.
And Jim.
Pretty good. It's been a pretty quiet week of gaming, so not too much to get into or talk about. So should be a short podcast.
All right, Eeyore. Speaking of which, let's talk about our week in gaming. Who wants to go first?
Mike, have you even played anything this week?
I don't remember.
Just Lorcana?
No,
a little bit of Lorcana?
A little bit of Lorcana. I played with Chris. It was a great time.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we played a couple of games. He won one. I won one. So we'll have to play the tiebreaker at some point in the future. But it was a lot of fun. Great to catch up with Chris. And fun to play more Lorcana.
Nice. Jim?
Let's see. I tried a 2v2 Lorcana. It was a great game mode. There's zero issues with it whatsoever, and I love it. So that was awesome. I went up about 20 ranks in Marvel Snap, so that was pretty cool as well. I mean, I'm like 65. It's nothing special.
Okay. Have you? What have you been playing with? I'm just curious, so we can compare notes here.
So I have an ongoing Thanos deck. I've been playing a lot.
Nice.
I have the Sarah build, but I'm just tired of it. And then I just teched out Galactus, so I'm going to start giving that one a run.
Very nice.
Sick.
Yeah.
Those are fun decks.
Sweet.
I guess I can talk about me. So I played in a Win-A-Box tournament of Flesh and Blood on Wednesday. I did not win, so no box for me. I did play. Yeah, basically.
Was it Outsiders?
I had to give them a box. You get to pick whatever box that you wanted if you want.
Oh, wow.
The winner picked Dynasty. I was like,
Was Arcane Rising available?
No, I think it was Monarch and later.
Got it.
Anyway, I did whip Jimbo and some Flesh and Blood earlier this week on Talishar, but that was easy.
The first 5 turns was him going, yeah, I've already lost this game. This game's over. And then he hits me with a turn of 3 Rain Razors and like 4 arrows. And I was like, that was fun.
So that's the classic right there is the sandbag game talk into the victory.
But the thing is, like, I do that to David
Jim's method of play. That is exactly how Jim plays every game. So I wasn't even mad at him. Your own medicine.
100%. That is how he plays.
We should talk about gaming personalities sometime on this show.
That would be pretty fun, actually.
I don't know if that'd be fun for me.
All 4 of us are wildly different in how we approach games and how we like interact with each other playing games. It's a miracle that we enjoy playing with each other at all.
That's why this works, I guess.
Before I continue, who do you think is the most competitive out of all of us?
Jim.
Jim? He seeks out the most competitive.
Well. David, you're pretty close up there, though.
I'm not talking about skill. I'm just talking about seeks out competitive games.
Yes, that's where I was at with that.
Yeah.
Jim. Let me tell you about Jim. Hold on a minute. Let me tell you about Jim.
Melt a little in my chair. Go ahead for the world to hear. Jim
is mad even if he wins. Okay, this guy will win and be like, I didn't draw my perfect, magical Christmas land combo. What the heck is this game even? Like, why do we even play? This is stupid. Like, why? Gosh, this game is unbalanced. I wish they'd fix it. And I'm gonna go build 4 more new decks to make this game better. And yeah, so
he always gets an apology text
wins. Imagine him losing.
I just give up on the game for about a month. So
I'll never forget the early days of Flesh and Blood playing Jim Braden. Let me tell you.
Oh, I'm sure that was toxic.
Goodness. He was so
Yeah.
mad at my Lexi, but it was great.
Yeah, so I have been playing something else lately, and it's not something I would have ever pictured myself playing. But my neighbor, it's him, and he has 2 sons. I convinced him to start playing Flesh and Blood with me. He actually went to the Winterbox tournament, which is cool. I mean, he got smashed, but like he's just learning to play the game, and that game is a very like not new player friendly game whatsoever.
It is not. No.
Which we may be able to talk about at some point. But he plays Magic the Gathering Commander, and I have been playing
Very nice.
I've played like 3 or 4 games with him and his sons playing Magic Commander, 3-player and 4-player games. And holy crap, dude, I've had so much fun playing Commander with them, and I did something I never thought I would do, and I went and bought Magic cards. I got a Commander deck.
Let's go.
Oh, we
Who'd you
lost
go
him.
with?
We all went and got March of the Machines Commander decks. Each of
Okay.
us got a different
Nice.
one, just like regular starter deck or whatever, and we're planning on playing those sometime this week against each other.
That's awesome.
But it's been really fun. Like, I don't care that much for Magic's system, but when you're playing in a setting like that and like 3 to 4 players and just goofing off and like yelling at each other, why are you not attacking him? He's got like 40 health still. I have 20. Why are you hitting me? All that kind of stuff. It's really fun. So
Nice. Do you feel like you're treating it a little bit more like a board game?
oh yeah, 100%. I
Yeah.
mean, it is board game, like it's board gamey, but it's still like there's so many combos. Like, I don't think someone could just pick this game up, pick up a couple commander decks, and like do like actually enjoy it unless you are a card gamer, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, Magic, having been around for so long, it's like it's a board game, but with like 10,000 different sort of
Yeah.
combinations of cards and pieces that you can put together.
Yeah.
The most expansions of all time.
Yeah. That's cool to hear, though. I like even still, even though I haven't played Magic like in a really long time, in any sort of meaningful way, I'm always down to play Commander because it's just like a fun time. All the decks, are really interesting. People often build sort of more thematic decks versus like, trying not to be super, super competitive about it. Obviously more my speed. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that you're getting into it. Maybe we'll have to find a way to play sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because it's been fun. But that's me. That's my week.
What about you, David?
All right, I've got 3 things.
Here we
Number
go.
1, I got a new game this week. I was out at the store and I was like, you know what? This looks like a good game. Bought it with my kids. It's called Chutes and Ladders.
Let's go.
We brought it home, got it out. It's a great
Tons of
game.
depth and strategy.
Yeah, if you guys haven't played it, you definitely need to get that on the table. So that's my new game of the week. It's my gateway drug for my 3-year-old. You got to start somewhere. So
Absolutely.
So we've got Chutes and Ladders. The second thing, I got lunch. So I obviously moved, started a new job, and got lunch with one of my coworkers. And I walk into his office, and it's literally like floor to ceiling decorated in old Star Wars memorabilia. Like, we're talking like the prequels. There was like an Attack of the Clones, like Pepsi. Well, I don't know what you say. It's like a marketing like a
standee or something.
Standee, yeah, for like a 7-Eleven that he had in his office.
Wow.
And I was like, where have I walked? This is amazing. and so we started talking about our shared love of Star Wars, and then he starts talking to me. He says, yeah, actually, last week my friend invited me over. He said, hey, I know you love Star Wars. Like, I got this game, and you should try it. It's called Star Wars Destiny. He said, have you ever heard of Star Wars Destiny?
No
Dead
way
serious.
this happened.
100%.
And you were wearing your
0%
medal.
chance this is a real story.
100%. And I just started laughing, and I was like, all right, we're going to have to go on a deep historical tale of of my life.
way.
Wow.
And
That's
I
insane.
got to tell him. So he was like, "This is unreal. I can't wait to tell my friend." And then he told me again. I saw him today, and he's like, "I told my friend about you. And he said he wants to meet you ASAP." And he said you sound really cool. I was
This
like,
isn't real.
That's
100%.
nuts.
Can't lie. So I think we're gonna get together.
The unbelievable part to Jim was that somebody would want to meet you.
Yeah, or say that you sound cool.
There it is.
He's just mad about my comment earlier. It's fine. But anyway,
That
so
is wild.
apparently we're gonna get together and play Destiny sometime. So
That is amazing.
I have
Wow.
reason to actually build my Smash decks out that I've been sleeping
Heck
on.
yeah.
So
What a
Yeah.
crazy coincidence.
I know I love it. And what was my third one? I've got like a bunch of these like KeyForge decks that I've been opening from my GameFound campaign box with the new set
Nice.
that just dropped. Where everybody is getting
you
their
have those in-
boxes.
Do you have those in boxes? Like in little
Burger
Yeah.
boxes.
Oh,
They're called
okay.
token
I think
boxes.
I do have a few of those.
They're
I think I need to get
it's
more.
from
They're
Burger
actually
Tokens.
awesome.
Yeah.
They like perfectly fit a deck.
Yeah,
right?
it's like they have different sizes. So if you can kind of see this, I don't know if you can see that. It says 37U. It's 37 unsleeved, but they have any size you want. Basically, you can get. So
Sweet.
my whole KeyForge selection is basically in these, so I can pull it out and see what it is. But
Nice.
Yeah, and if you're not in our Discord, join it because we do deck of the day where one of us opens a deck, we post pictures of all the cards in the deck list, and then we talk about how trash it is because they are all trash. Every single one in my box is trash.
That's
Yep.
unfortunate.
yeah. So I'm basically just opening one a day. I think I have like 5 left from my campaign box, and I'm loving it. It's like one of those like advent calendars at Christmas time, or like 12 days at Christmas. It's like, oh, I'm just spreading out the joy, and I am loving it. Opening the new decks and seeing all the cool new toys and chatting with people in different Discords about KeyForge, and also mentally like thinking, okay, is there anything in here worthy of me taking a Gen Con in a couple months for like high level competition? Because even the top level like competitors and like some of the highest ranked players in the world are saying this set has the gas to be like top level competition. So, which we couldn't say about the last set. So, I'm excited to kind of like dig in and see what we have. And I can confirm for the KeyForge players out there, the development on TCO, the Crucible Online, where you can play KeyForge in your web browser, is very much under development. They're working really hard. So as soon as the Master Vault goes live, we're waiting on Ghost Galaxy for the Master Vault, but as soon as that goes live, so we can actually scan in our decks, and then I'm sure it'll have bugs and stuff, but like I need that right now because I just got to a new community and I've got Destiny friends apparently, but I need KeyForge friends. So I'm just excited about that right now.
Nice. I also got my KeyForge stuff this week.
Oh yeah. Hey, can you tell us about your custom name deck that you ordered?
My custom name deck that I'm pretty sure I forgot to custom name, which was the entire reason why I backed it in the first place.
So trash.
So the deck is just Michael with the whatever.
The whatever.
I don't even care anymore.
I wonder how many decks there are that are already called Michael.
That are just called Michael. Probably several.
Oh yeah.
I'm literally searching it right now just to see like what pops up.
At least
non-zero
Michael
number.
Scott or something.
I know,
just
like
Michael.
just Michael does something. I don't even remember what it was. Doesn't matter.
Okay, there are 210 decks in the world.
That's not
Michael.
bad.
You got to be kidding me.
Now there's 211.
Can I back again?
There's only one J Trash.
Oh man! But apparently that deck has a decent unfathomable or something like that. David told me. I don't know anything about KeyForge anymore, but if you want to borrow it for whatever you need to borrow for, you let me know.
Yeah, now that Alliance is a thing, I still don't love Alliance. I'd rather have Sealed, but the fact that you can take a pod out of a deck and combine it with 2 pods from other decks. Now, it does get my brain going when I see a deck. I'm like, the deck's probably not that good. But then I see that one house. I'm like, oh, dang, that's actually pretty spicy. So,
it is nice that format means that, like a deck that is kind of trash on its own, one of the pieces could be good and still useful.
Yeah.
So, like, I understand why they would implement that format.
Yep. All right.
Does it actually though? So like, I mean, I understand I guess like the whole argument. This could be a whole tangent, but I'm gonna try not to have it be that. The whole argument is that it makes old decks good because you can potentially get a good pod, but really, it makes a few decks that are old good because they have really busted pods in there, and then all the old trash decks are still old trash decks.
They're still garbage. Yeah, I mean, I think you're probably right. Like on net, it probably doesn't really increase the number of decks that are like good enough, but I don't know. Like maybe it shifts it, so it's like, okay, I like this house in this deck. I like the name of this deck, or like, you know, I like how that particular house plays. If it makes that specific deck that you have useful, maybe it's not sort of like the total grand scheme of like it makes more decks good.
True.
I don't know.
Yeah.
The power level of like what your house pod probably has to be ridiculously high for it to be good in this format, though.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly.
And we saw that at KeyForge Celebration, the first Alliance tournament. I mean, the deck that won was just insanely gross. Like, I was
Combo.
like, yeah, I'm not disappointed that I didn't play in this thing. So it still does not get me excited for like any competitive environment, but I don't know. It at least gets my brain moving. In theory,
are there like restrictions? Like,
yes.
Okay.
There are there's a restricted list where it's like, hey, you can have one of these cards, but you can't have the other one. Or you can have just one of these. So they did do a little bit of work. In fact, at least I know of the top 8 at KeyForge Celebration, I think at least one of the decks is illegal now because of the restricted list that came out of it. But we'll see. But it is where like, okay, Winds of Exchange, there are some crazy control things in Unfathomable, and Brobnar can be crazy. You get the right token in there. You know, it's like there is some undiscovered territory here that I don't know.
If you're playing Alliance, I'm just curious how this works. And you are playing a house with like a token. Which token? Like if you're playing multiple houses with tokens, which token do you use?
You get to choose.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, it has to be from one of those
from one of those houses or whatever.
Decks. It has to be from one of those 3 decks. But you can't just take anything.
Sure. Okay.
But
interesting.
But yeah, so they did clarify that. Otherwise, it would be, I mean, Prospector like all over the place. Probably, maybe some Amberling, maybe some Berserker for those who play KeyForge. But I don't know.
They also announced Vault Tour.
They clarified what a Vault Tour is. That was the news. They were like, hey, if you've never heard of KeyForge, you've never been to Vault Tour, this is what to expect.
Nice.
Which was interesting. I guess probably the most intriguing news was that when you go to Vault Tour, you get this like goodie bag. So you pay, I think it's like $75 for the weekend, but you get 3 decks and you get a mystery deck. And they said, we're not going to tell you what the mystery deck is. So,
Interesting.
I think that means it's going to be a new Unchained set, maybe, or I don't know. I honestly have no idea what, because if it was Unchained and they don't have a new set, maybe it's Unchained cards from the next set because they already kind of sent us some Grim Reminder stuff. Who knows?
That's pretty cool. I like the idea of going to a big event like that and then immediately getting something cool.
Yeah.
It makes it feel a little bit better than like, you know, paying $100 and then losing.
Going
going 0-2 drop into like side events that you have to spend more money on. So that is cool. And KeyForge is like uniquely positioned to where they can do stuff like that, where it's like a special deck that like I can tell you what it is yet, but you're going to want it. It's going to be cool. Yeah. And, maybe even they could do like a Vault Tour specific deck even, right? That, either commemorates that Vault Tour that you went to, or, you could use it in the event in some way that is different or unique.
And the name in all of them is like something Vault Tour Philadelphia 2023.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and we saw that with like the I saved KeyForge treatment. I think I have the deck sitting right here, but this is a normal deck really cool. Right here. And then this is the I saved KeyForge deck that has the like different alternate art treatment, and people are going crazy about like how
It looks
cool that
cool.
looks.
It,
Yeah,
it looks really cool. Yeah, for the audio only listeners, which I know there's probably like 4 of you. The normal KeyForge back is like kind of darker color, and then the Savior of KeyForge deck is kind of like it's got like a golden sort of hue to it, and it looks very nice.
You can't
Yeah.
actually tell as much on when your Archon is orange like that or yellow. But yeah, no.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it looks good. It looks good.
yeah. So stuff like that. It's like all the like alternate art treatments and custom name stuff. I mean, they'd be
Mhm.
crazy not to lean into that because people will. I mean, you even said, Mike, the whole reason you pledged was for a custom
It
name
sure
deck.
was.
So I'm just like,
there.
I
I'm like,
definitely did
ride the
fail.
wave, Ghost Galaxy, ride that wave.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm in the place now where I've got to figure out. I've got Gen Con in like the beginning of August, and then there's a vault tour like in Minnesota 2 weeks after that, which is like a 5 to 6 hour drive. And I really want to go up there, but I also, you know,
Twice
don't
in
want
1
my
month.
family
It's not
to
easy.
hate me.
I qualified for nationals for Fab, and it's the same month as Gen Con. I was just like, I'm not going.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of traveling compressed in just a few weeks.
Yeah. All right,
All right.
you guys ready for our next little segment?
Yeah,
Let's
what's
do
it
it.
called?
Yeah.
It's called the. You'll never believe the title we came up with, guys.
You ready, people?
The question of the week.
Whoa.
Yay.
What could that mean?
We worked really hard on this one, guys.
Unlimited
Innovative.
creativity.
Unlimited,
Infinite possibility.
unlimited, unplayable, unaskable question of the week. Okay, this question was given to us in our Discord channel. So if you're not in there, be sure to pop in. By Tapped Out TCG says, I know it's early, but do you think Lorcana would benefit? Remember that game, Disney Lorcana, when we used to get
man.
news?
Oh yeah.
It's
Totally forgot
produced,
about that
published by
Doesn't sound
Ravensburger.
familiar.
They were going to release a game, and then they stopped telling us anything about it. So
Does not ring a
Wow.
bell.
Do you think Lorcana would benefit from a 2-ink card or a non-ink specific card?
So I'm going to take this to mean like a dual color card. So like
Right.
the card is like steel sapphire, and you have to play it in steel sapphire. And the second part I think is like a neutral or like a generic card that you could put in literally any deck.
Yeah.
I
What,
think
what do you think?
You got some thoughts about this, Jay. I want to hear your thoughts.
You want to hear my thoughts? Okay.
Yeah.
So for the 2-ink card, I actually think it would be a good place for them to have some design space to build cards or develop cards that would otherwise be broken in a single color. So like say you make a princess card that's like super good, and you make it blue, sapphire, amethyst because you don't want it to be played with Moana, right? So like that would be a good use case for making that so that it's specific to those two, that color combination, and can't be broken with other colors. So I think that would be fine for them to do. Now,
Does Magic do this? I feel like I've seen Magic cards like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The sort of deck building system in Magic is a bit different because you can literally put any card in your deck. It doesn't have to match like a particular color. You just have to have the mana or whatever to be able to play the card. So it is a little bit different. But it's similar, I guess. I agree with you, Jay, though. I think like they can design cards that are meant for a very specific set of sort of cards around that card. So yeah, I think it would be cool. I would be surprised if they don't eventually explore that.
For sure. And I mean, like even in starter decks, they could have those kinds of cards because it would fit right in. Okay, next one. Jim, did you have anything to input on that?
I think it would make a lot of sense. Just the way that they've kind of even designed some of the tags for the cards of like Storyborn, Dreamborn, and then Floodborn is the third one as I'm looking it up. yeah, just kind of keep going to that realm of like absurdity is like seems right down their alley, especially if like what this game's trying to do. I feel like that would be very flavorful to have that like steel amber card that combines what those house identities are trying to do perfectly. That you can't just tech into whatever steel deck you want. So yeah, I think that'd be sweet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Are we good to go to the neutral version of it? The conversation? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I don't think they should. Because they've already dropped so many cards that are just like vanilla stat lines. Like that's kind of the realm that they're working with here. I think of like amber color in particular, like a lot of their items are kind of this generic, like 1 cost, you can heal 1 per turn kind of idea. Like very just generic things that are going on that they've already included for specific colors. The fact that there's very just like vanilla generic, like 1 costs in most of the colors already. It just like.
Do you think that points to the fact that they are not doing generics?
I think they won't do generics because of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they did. I don't think it makes a ton of sense either. It's like, I guess Jay, you'll probably say something similar to this, but like I feel like in games that have neutral or generic cards, you have to be like really careful about what those cards are and like why you make them at all. Because if they're too good, then all of a sudden they go in every single deck, and now you're playing against the same cards every single game. And it, like in some ways, like
Hold Up Blaster.
Yeah, 100%. Like cards like that. I mean, Hearthstone, I can think of a million examples as well, where it's like,
Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, Flesh and Blood. Exactly. Like
real bad.
Every game that has sort of a generic pool, you eventually have cards that become so powerful in that pool that they go in literally everything.
And then every time you build a new deck, you have to pull it out of your deck. So when you
sit down and play, wait, move it to the next one.
I need to pull these out and re-sleeve them because I only own 2 of them because everybody wants a million of these.
And they're so expensive, yeah. In theory, I think part of the reason to design a card like that is because, if you own this card once, you can now play it in a bunch of different decks and there's less for you to buy. But I think in reality, it's just like the demand for those cards go way up and it kind of becomes a wash. It's like Spring Tunic, right? Like in Fab is an example of this. It's like a generic piece of equipment that is just like generically good in almost any hero. And it's like, like a $300 card or something like that.
Around there.
So I don't know. I don't like seeing the same cards over and over again. I like the variety of the different colors. I like the color identity, especially in Lorcana. It feels like very, very important to that game. So I don't know. I don't think it would add anything.
I completely agree with pretty much everything that you said. Generic. I don't like games that have generics in them. I understand why they exist in Flesh and Blood, even though they're like super OP and there's so many of them that are like super expensive and they go on every deck. But because of draft, they have to do it. That's the only. That's the only thing I can think of. Well. Depending on Lorcana, I don't think you need generics in that game, but if they do the draft where you can have whatever colors in your deck, then you don't need generics for the draft. So I think a game that has a system like Flesh and Blood, having generics just evens out the draft experience, and that's the reason they have it. The other reason I don't like generics in games is because I want decks to feel super unique compared to other decks. So it's like if I'm playing a warrior, I don't want to play a card that a brute can play. Like I want to have cards only for that class and for it to feel completely unique. I don't want to run Command and Conquer in every deck. I don't want to see Rhinar with the Spring Tunic on, like it's just, but that's me. That's a personal thing. So that's my 2 cents.
There you go. All right. Well, like I said, submit your questions, guys. Give us more stuff to talk about while we wait for Lorcana and Star Wars Unlimited news. All right. Speaking of Star Wars Unlimited, our main topic of the night is related to Star Wars Unlimited, but not necessarily specific to Star Wars Unlimited. Mike, I'm
More
gonna
specific to FFG.
I mean, this has happened to a lot of games, a lot of companies.
Yeah, I mean, technically, Lorcana kind of, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
But-
did want to bring that up actually as
okay,
part of this conversation.
let's frame this conversation up before we get into it. Mike, I want you to explain
away.
how we're going to approach this.
Yeah,
I think you said it well in our pre-chat, and I want you to say it again.
Perfect, because I don't remember how I said it at all. So
We'll just edit it out if you screw it up.
I think what we're going to be talking about just like leaks in games, basically, and how they affect that game, both positive and negative. Talk about sort of, I don't know, are they good? Are they bad? Like what has happened in the past? Obviously, this is sort of spurred by the game rules leak of Star Wars Unlimited, which we're not going to go into like super specific detail about. If you wanted to find it, you can go find it on the internet somewhere. If you're listening to this podcast, you've probably already seen it. So we don't want to pretend like, you know, like we're digging our heads in the sand or like, you know, we don't know that this happened. And that's kind of the approach that we're going to take here.
We're just doing it out of respect of the designers and the publishing company at the moment.
Yeah. To preface, obviously, like nobody wants this stuff to get leaked at,
Right.
you know, the companies where they're producing this stuff. It kind of,
and marketing teams like come up with strategies of how they want to release these kinds of things, and when that gets tanked, it feels really bad. So
yeah. So what do you guys think about? Okay, let's take like really like quickly, like 5 seconds. What do you think about the Star Wars specific leaks? Like how do you guys think it affects Star Wars Unlimited and the hype building for that game, like moving forward into launch?
I think it sucks for the FFG for sure. Like, I'm sure they would want to have this time span that Lorcana had, where it was just like everyone was talking about, oh, this is how the mechanics of the game could go.
Mhm.
Look at this card, and this card indicates this. Look at the different pips on the cards. What do you think they mean? All that kind of crap. I'm sure they wanted to have that kind of like time, because they have probably 8 months out from release.
At least
That's
I
a
would say,
long
yeah.
time to like, and they've already had the rules leaked out. That kind of sucks, and not to have that time that Lorcana did, where everyone was just kind of theorying about what the game was going to play like and stuff like that, because it definitely builds hype, and that's gone. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys think that like fewer people end up playing it, or like fewer people end up hearing about it because of it? And like
Not
if
to me.
you don't think that that's true, then like does it matter that much? Like if the end goal is to have X number of people playing and purchasing this game, and we don't think that the rules leaking is going to affect that number at the end of the day, like how much does it really affect it? I actually don't know the answers to that. Like maybe the hype cycle of the like speculation does increase the amount of people at the end of the day who buy it, but I don't know. I kind of feel like it's a known quantity, right? It's a Star Wars card game.
Mm-hmm.
Like people are going to be excited no matter what. And like other games, you know, like when you already know the rules and they release new product, like you still get excited for it, right? Like there's not like there are just different things to speculate about. It's not anymore like, oh, how does this work at all? It's like, how is this going to work in context of like what I know about the game?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. That's a good question, Mike. I think I hadn't considered that question until you asked it. And my gut response was, no, it doesn't affect the numbers in any significant way. If it does affect it in some way, maybe there are a few, but I feel like even in early conversations, I mean, I guess it is a little skewed. Maybe I'm thinking specifically about Star Wars Unlimited, because I'm thinking about like if like KeyForge, before KeyForge was released, was announced, like nobody cares about the IP of KeyForge at that point.
Sure.
It's just this novel concept of this like unique deck game that's going to release, and it's going to do this thing, and people would be like, "What? Like, how does that even work? And like, or some kind of, I'm trying to think of like another IP that,
I remember early on, like Marvel Champions, like there were a bunch of like character pack leaks, right?
There
Where-
was.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Maybe
They leaked like the whole
like the whole first wave or something like that, right?
or more than that, I think.
Oh, wow.
Like
Yeah.
everything that was coming.
Okay. How about Flesh and Blood? Like obviously, like Flesh and Blood. I remember seeing an advertisement on my Facebook feed out of nowhere of like, "Hey, new TCG coming," and I was like, whatever.
You're like, I don't care.
Right.
I'm like
Right.
some generic thing, I got targeted on Facebook for this ad, and like I'm like, there's nothing about this picture of Dorinthia, that like makes you say, yeah, okay, I want to try this game, versus like I see Star Wars and I think, oh, like there's an emotional reaction because I already have like emotions built into the IP of Star Wars. On the other side, I also have emotional responses to like the way that FFG has, messed up games that I loved. But I mean, I think my response, I don't know if you remember this, but like my response to hearing about Star Wars Unlimited by FFG was like, oh no, not again. Like my first reaction was like,
Here we
oh,
go
like,
again.
like no way. Like, this is a whatever. And then like within like, I don't know how long it was. I think it was
30
less
seconds.
than 5. Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say 5 minutes. Within 30 seconds, I was like, wait, like when can we play it though? Like, because I'm like, I don't care about the
When's this coming
company,
out?
and I just like the Star Wars, and I'm like, just give me the cards and let me, say Han shot first, and let me do things like that. So I don't personally. I'm like, leak or no leak, I'm playing the game. I feel like the most of what I've heard of other people are like, at least when it comes to Star Wars Unlimited. I don't know if I can say that for every single game, but for this, I think that's where I stand. I don't think it affects who plays.
It is interesting too because I mean I haven't seen anything negative about the game sort of like after the leak, right? I think in general people seem to really like the rule set that they developed, and so I think that helps, right? If they release the rules and everybody was like, well, this seems dumb, then it definitely affects things.
Yeah,
but I think because like the sentiment is still very positive on the game and on like the concept, it ultimately at least I don't think it will like affect sort of the end goal very much. I think they'll have to maybe rework their marketing strategies. But I think, that may be the extent of the impact.
Like if I'm FFG and I see this happen.
Yeah. What do you do?
I think the thing that I would respect the most is what Legend Story Studios has done multiple times where they're like, this thing happened. It was out of our control. Or this, like, I remember one of the sets was released and like all the cards, everyone started opening packs and they were all like, all the cards were messed up. Like it was like cut wrong or something. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Like,
yeah,
it was like massively like an issue, and they immediately they post an article that said, "Hey, this thing happened. Like we've contacted the company. We've targeted the incident." We've isolated it, so it was like 1.2% of packs that have been released, or so. I mean, it was like data driven, and like here's the issue, here's what we did, and don't worry. Like it was such a professional response. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, they did that with the last set. There was a very small amount of boxes that were affected, where like it was an insane. Like every pack had a legendary or a fable in it.
My packs were the opposite.
Yeah. It didn't affect there was more legendaries printed because of it, so it wasn't like people were losing out on legendaries. It was just a select few lucky people would open a box and get like 4 fables and 25 legendaries.
Yeah,
but they immediately came out with literally all the facts and metrics that you need to like understand what this would do to the market and how many packs were affected and all that kind of crap. So yeah, they definitely come out ready.
So like transparent communication seems like a good thing in general.
Yes, I think you just say it, like maybe give it some time, because like not everyone knows about the leak right away. Not everyone follows games the way that we all. So maybe give it a little bit of time, I wouldn't go too long, but like finally say like, hey, we plan to release the rules at this later date, and unfortunately this thing came out, whatever.
And then like here's the
So-
rules, everybody. Like you can check them out now.
Pretending like it didn't happen is the worst thing that you can do.
Yeah. Well,
Yes, it's the Elmo
there's,
gif.
There's two things. There's pretending like it didn't happen and just like sweeping it under the rug, just like pretending like you don't know anything. That just, I feel like, just insults people. The second is actively trying to like suppress it and like get people to stop talking about it, because then you get this dry sand effect where now all of a sudden you amplify it and you look dumb in the process, basically, where you're like, no, people, like, I don't want people to see where I live. And then everybody says, well, now we want to know where you live. So that's the fun thing. I think this sort of ties in with Lorcana a little bit, where I mean, we don't really know what their intent was in terms of like releasing their rules, but when the rules did leak for that game through Game Trader magazine or whatever, if we can call that a leak, I honestly don't know if that was like planned or not. But it felt like it wasn't quite planned, because immediately after, Ravensburger published the quick start rules or whatever on their own website for people to check out. And that seemed like a good move on their side. They obviously had a lot more time for people to sort of speculate around the rules of the game and how it worked for like almost a year. But I think ultimately, like, you know, aside from the lack of spoilers over the last like 2 months, it feels like, I know it hasn't been that long, but it feels like that long. People are still very excited about Disney Lorcana. So,
yeah. So to answer your question, like, what would I do if I were them? I would, one, continue to focus on, like, hey, here are the OP plans that we have. I think that's one way that they set themselves apart from Ravensburger and Lorcana, because Ravensburger and Lorcana have been like, nah, we might have OP, or like, here's some leaked stuff, and everyone's confused because someone in France says there's nothing for the first year.
And then they say like, no, there is stuff, but we're not going to tell you what that stuff is.
What, I mean, at this point, I'm like who's running the show over there? And then they're hiring a global, person, and whereas like FFG has the global connections because of Asmodee, and they came with a strong, like, this is how we're structuring OP from day one. We're going to have this. We're going to have limited play. Like, they're saying the right things. I'm like, okay, well, keep saying those things. And like, what are we?
Yeah. There's still plenty of them to reveal, right? Or plenty for them to reveal.
For sure. And I think we've said this about Lorcana, but I'm like, okay, maybe they wanted to like wait a long time and then slowly like, okay, here's some rules, or here's some stuff that's happening. And we lost the co-host. But now I'm like, okay, well, the steady drip of like cards, like, just if you just post a card a week, or 2 cards a week, or 3 cards a week, or whatever, like, is enough to like keep
people on the hook, moving. Right? Yeah.
I still, it blows my mind that companies don't do this more. Like, you just keep generating discussion and people keep talking about it every single time something comes up. And if there's negative talk around the game, the second a new card posts out, like, that just drops down.
Yeah, now all of a sudden people are talking about that instead, right?
Yeah. So I'm like, I mean, this feels like 101 marketing 101 for a new game, or like new sets. Like, just focus on the cards then. Show us cool pictures and good cards, and I think you're fine.
So say they did have this marketing scheme of like they were going to try and have this time period where people speculate about the game. They drop a few spoilers every once a week or something like Lorcana did, and then just go from there. And then they do this like big rules reveal or whatever they may have had marketing wise. I think a stupid thing for them to do would be to, one, pretend like this didn't happen and then continue with that.
Just do the same thing. Yeah.
But it would like not changing your marketing strategy after something like this happens would be like bad. So like, I think you definitely completely reorganize what your strategy would be, or is going to be based on this happening. And like, you hit it head on. Like this coming week, I would have an article out talking about the rule and do a live stream talking about the rules of the game. Like 100%.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, you can't pretend like it didn't happen and then 6 months later say, oh, here are the rules to the game. And the entire community is like, well, we already knew all of this. Like that is worst case scenario of just like, okay, well, like, this company does not see what's going on in this community. Like, we're not excited. Like, this is not something for us to get excited about because everybody already knows all this information. totally agree. I think the best thing that they could do is just like lean into it. It's like it's the same thing about, I feel like any kind of information that somebody doesn't want out there is like, you somehow have to like own the narrative from that point on, if it does get released, and figure out how it becomes a benefit to you rather than a downside. So hopefully they sort of understand that and do that, but time will tell.
Like, I could totally see like old school FFG coming out on their stupid FFG website with a new article, and it's talking about
just a slice of how the game works. Yeah,
a few cards, and like
it's like here's how the resource system works, and then the next week here's how attacking works, and then the next week here's how you play cards, and it's just like 4 weeks of stuff that people already know.
Like, that would be terrible. Like, please don't do that. Not that anyone from FFG is listening to this trash.
No, definitely
not. Yeah, Jeremy's Wern put us on the no listen list once he saw Jay was put on this. Jim, what are your thoughts? You've been quiet.
Yeah, sorry. Let's see. I think the big, like with Unlimited in particular, it just feels like it's all still so early. That they announced the game, and I'm sure they had an idea for like how the timeline of everything, but it just feels so early for the information that we have. That it's like, okay, now we can start talking about gameplay. What does that look like? The 6 cards that we have. I think somebody made a joke in Discord of like, or however many it is, just like, oh yeah, like the meta's already getting stale, and it's like, that's funny.
That's an S tier comment for sure.
So funny.
Well, why haven't we made a tier list yet, guys? What are we doing?
But yeah, just like, because we still don't have a real knowledge of a release date, it's just this arbitrary next year. Like, we don't know if that's first quarter. We don't know if that's
fourth quarter,
16 months from now. Very well could be.
Don't even joke.
Gosh,
no, but it's just like,
awful.
we truly don't know. And so it's like, I'm hopeful that this doesn't negatively affect anything about the hype around the game. But because it was announced so early, and then it's like, okay, now we have all of this knowledge, like, we're going to get excited, and then I hope we just don't burn out. I'm just like, what now?
I'm kind of excited now that we get to like see the cards in context, though. Like,
yes,
it's such a good comparison with Lorcana, because similar timelines, but like not knowing what the cards did at all when they came out, like, to a certain degree it's exciting, but it also like limits what you can really say about it. Like, now that we know how Unlimited plays, like, we can look at a card and at least pretend to evaluate it based on information that we have, right? So every time they release a new
tier list, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we'll tier list the seven cards that we have already.
Titles.
Can't wait for that.
But it's just, I think it just lets us talk about the cards in a different way than we would previously, rather than like, I don't think it's better or worse. I think it's just different.
I think it definitely gives content creators like more to talk about too. Like, when Lorcana was doing it, I didn't listen to any Lorcana podcasts back then, but like, I can only imagine what, like, a new spoiler coming out, how long can you talk about something that you don't even know the rules for? So like, I mean, if it introduced something new, so like, say for example, Leia in this, the ones that we have, is talking about readying a resource. It's like, you could talk about your predictions of what the resource system might be for a little bit, but then after that, it's like, there's not really much you can say. And then if there's nothing like that in the card, then it's like, there's nothing you're adding to the conversation. So
yeah. I mean, obviously we are a little biased because we are content creators. We've done this for years for multiple games, but I've said this, and I actually had a conversation with Christian Peterson at Ghost Galaxy about this concept. Like, for KeyForge, I was like, when they bought the game, I was like, content creators are free marketing for your game. We want the game to succeed. We are on your side. Like, use us. Like, I don't want you to pay me. I don't want you to you to worry about all that. Like, I just want to make sure this is successful. And I think sometimes these companies overestimate their marketing departments and underestimate their free marketing options with content creators. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, that's a really interesting topic that could be an entire episode.
It might actually be.
It probably should be. I think the quick version of this is like video game marketing is already moving in that direction almost, but it's not. It's still not free marketing for them. They are increasingly going to influencers rather than sort of like traditional marketing outlets to get their game seen, basically. So I think, in a lot of ways, like the tabletop industry sort of follows the video game industry in sort of things like that. So I would expect into the future sort of companies understanding that relationship and dynamic a little bit better. I mean, the funny thing about tabletop is that like most of the influencers would do any of this stuff for free because it's such a smaller space. Like there's not as much competition. Yeah. Everything is so hyper specialized. Like, our podcast is obviously a bit more general, like gaming stuff and just the games that we like to play. But that there's going to be like 30 or 40, Star Wars Unlimited specific outlets that, you could sort of throw information to. And it's sort of a nice, mutually beneficial relationship of like, okay, us as the publishers, we'll give you like, some spoilers or some like whatever, some support to help draw people into your channel. And if you do a good job, like that's going to net you more sort of, views or followers or whatever the heck you want to care about. And then on the other side, it's like, you're sort of broadcasting our message to other people that may not have found out about it otherwise. I think actually like the general gaming podcast may be a little bit more valuable to like a publisher because we can talk to multiple different game audiences. Just like talking as like a marketing person, not as like a podcaster. So it definitely an interesting dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think going forward that they will be much more timid with releasing spoilers because they don't want people playing with proxies?
I hope not. That's a terrifying question.
So, second question to that is how close to release do they need to wait until they release a bunch of cards because they don't want people playing?
That's a good question too.
Figuring out the first set before it comes out.
I mean, I'm sad to say I think the answer is like a while. Like I think it is actively bad if people are able to play the game like now and it doesn't come out for like 8 months.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree
like,
with that.
I feel like I hope that it's such a weird thing to say, but like I hope that there's not enough cards that people can like build decks until like 2 months max before the game comes out.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of people just stopped listening, but I just feel like it's so bad for the game if people get bored of it before it even comes out.
Well, I mean, that was like our group chat on Friday when I woke up to literally 98 text messages from the three of you.
Should have slept
in. And it was like...
You lived 2 hours ahead of me, and I woke up before you.
Fridays are my day off. Shut up. I want to sleep 1 day a week, okay? But it's just this, like, I think we had this collective like we're excited to read the rules, but also like, ooh, this is really hard because like we don't really like love that this happened because we want that slow drip. But now it's that pivot point. Like this is where I'm like, this is why I said you could literally like on Twitter. I wasn't
upset it happened.
Okay, there we go. But no one's surprised. Double blanks. So, but on Twitter that same day, I think they just had it planned or whatever. They released a like tweet with like the Luke Skywalker leader card in like both sides of like the leader and then the leader unit or whatever. Which is fine. It's like you have that plan, you have this cool graphic planned around it, they release it, whatever. So I had two responses to that. One, I was like, well, it's probably like, okay, we had this plan for today. Should we still do it? And like, all right, just hit post, like whatever. But two things came out of that. One is they've already shown this card.
Yeah. I wasn't so a fan of that.
I mean, like, it is Luke Skywalker, but I'm like, why are we pretending like we haven't already studied this really well? Like that was a perfect opportunity, I think, to post a new card, but they weren't. Obviously, there's some graphics, and you got to pay people to do things and prepare. So
there's a Vader one coming this week.
Oh, you know,
so you know,
100%. There's a Vader one coming, and I'm like, this is where I'd say, okay, fine, do your cool little graphic, because I do think they show well on Twitter, and like they have this like cool little graphic and gets retweeted and reposted or whatever. And I'm like, but show us new cards and change the conversation. Like,
Yeah.
move us toward like building this. And again, I say, like, even if it wasn't till 2024, you could release a card or two every week just to keep
the
kind of
hype
that
going.
drip, you know, and you'd still have probably the majority of the set unrevealed, and you wouldn't be able to build decks, I don't think. But I mean, don't know when you'd reach
if we think that there's like 30, 40 weeks until the game comes out, which is like almost a year, right? Like that's not that many cards. Like if they're doing one per
cards,
week,
if you do it 2 per week.
Yeah. I mean, even that's like not that many in like
That's
a 200 and whatever card set, right? Like,
yeah,
if they're strategic about what they release when, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad approach necessarily.
Yeah, we said this about Lorcana. Like, I don't think this is like isolated to a game. I think this is like normal expectations from gaming community that I don't understand. I can't get myself in the mindset of a publishing company that's not taking advantage of that kind of marketing.
Mm-hmm.
So for Lorcana, we've been 3 months, at least 3 months before the game comes out, we've been grinding games. Do you think it's bad for Lorcana?
I think potentially. I mean, I think that the card pool that we have is so small that
but game it feels that we like we're getting the full experience. Like, I mean, they're basically starter decks.
We're understanding how the game is working though. So I actually that's a good point to bring up. It feels like they're starter decks. If they release the starter decks now, and then they release the rest of the set in August, I actually don't think that would necessarily be a bad thing. Like, I think people can wrap their head around how the game functions and around sort of like the beginnings of what the sort of meta game could look like, I guess, if you want to call it that. But I think, you know, every time a new big injection of cards happens, the game becomes exciting again. So I think if we had the entire card pool spoiled now and we were all playing with all the cards 3 months, 2 months ahead of the release, I do think that's bad. But because we're playing with such a limited selection of cards, like there's decks that are literally like every single card in those colors because you don't have enough cards to like make choices. So I think like once we actually have choice and once we can like sort of build decks around strategies that don't even exist because those cards haven't been revealed yet, I think it's more okay for the Lorcana the way that they've sort of spoiled their cards and like the card pool that we have available to us than if we had more. So
Unlimited is an interesting discussion about it too, since you can technically include every card in your deck.
Yeah, that's true.
So like the more cards that are revealed, like the more options you have at putting in. They do the whole resources cost. It costs extra resources or whatever, but you can actually put every card in your deck. So as soon as they reveal,
that's a good point.
Is it like 33 cards? You can actually build a deck.
I think less than that, right? Because it's 3 ofs and then a 50 card deck.
20 cards.
Yeah, like 20 cards.
Less than card.
Yeah,
less than 20
like
cards.
17, 18 cards, I think. Yeah, you could, but I don't think that's like the full experience, right? So I think like if you do that, like, I mean, maybe you even play where like there's no penalty and you just like play all the cards and like you get a feel for how the game sort of goes back and forth and stuff. I don't necessarily think that's like a huge issue. I think the bigger issue is like the ability to solve a meta game 2 months before a game comes out. That's a huge problem.
Yeah.
So if the entire card set gets leaked, that's a way bigger disaster than if the rules. Happened. Yeah. So that changes the entire scenario. That's not something we really touched on. 2.0.
It's literally like, oh, it's not that we can't get our hands on the stuff, it's just we've had this in our hands for too long. And
yeah.
I feel like FFG is the worst about this, getting stuff.
Who are they telling this information to?
I think they just have like really long like supply chains and sort of like logistics sort of I don't know. It seems like because they're a global company, right? There's a lot of different sort of places. I mean, even Apple, right? Like biggest company in the entire world. Everybody knows what the new iPhone is going to do every, like 3 or 4 months, even sometimes years before it comes out. So no company is immune to this. Wizards of the Coast, we could talk about. Accidentally sold cards, right? Or somebody accidentally sold cards to this guy who opened them up on YouTube and then got raided.
Yeah, so he went to a shop, I guess. I don't know. Somehow this shop got, I don't know the full story about like how he got the cards. I think he went to a shop and the shop somehow had this like newest set way before it was releasing. He bought the packs, opened them up on YouTube and made a YouTube video and all that kind of stuff. And then Wizards of the Coast sends a motley crew down to this man's house.
It's so messed up.
Picks him up by his legs, dumps his lunch money out, and takes those cards back. So people are calling them the Pinkertons.
Well, I think that's the company. I think that that's an insurance company, as far as I understand it, and they're like the repo man of trading card games, apparently.
No. So have you ever? Because D House doesn't know what this means either.
I have no clue.
Have you never watched a Western and they call someone a Pinkerton?
No.
So
Have I watched a
back-
Western? I mean, it's
back in the day,
2023.
During like that cowboy era, there was a company called the Pinkerton Company, and that's what they were. They were like repo people, and they would go get loans back from people and all that kind of crap.
Okay.
I'm quickly learning why I didn't watch Westerns.
And I don't think they actually use, because the Pinkerton Company doesn't do that anymore. The real Pinkerton Company.
Okay, I'm looking it up live because now I'm too curious about it now. But apparently, they are a private security and detective agency established in 1850.
Ooh.
And they're currently owned by Paragon Systems, I guess, who's like a big private security agency. And I mean, I think it's a legit company that like go. You know,
It was.
But they are called
Pinkerton. It is. Yeah. But they have during the during the cowboy time, they had a negative connotation because they were just like, I don't know, rich people would hire them to go do stuff to. I
mean, they were founded in the 1850s, so it could be the same. Like,
no,
it could be referencing the same
company.
thing. It is the same thing. It's like referencing exactly.
Yeah,
that.
and they actually at one point they tried to file a lawsuit on somebody for some. Oh, maybe it was a Western movie or something for giving like.
Oh, for like defamation or something.
Yeah. Essentially,
that's crazy.
So yeah.
So is FFG hiring the Pinkertons? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, that whole situation is just effed.
Like, oh yeah, absolutely insane. The dude bought the cards; he owns them. They're his cards. Like,
yeah,
if he wants to post them on YouTube, like, why? I mean, it's kind of on Wizards to let that happen, right? Like, why is this dude getting punished for?
They should go after the store that did it, not this guy, and that's where
or whoever gave it to the store.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a distributor or like Wizards issue.
Yeah. It's just a very strange situation. I'm sure we're butchering this because none of us actually know what we're talking about. But it's
no, this is the definitive conversation on the Pinkertons Wizard situation.
Can we do a tier list of our favorite Pinkertons?
Famous. I'm gonna look that up. Most
That's great.
Famous Pinkertons. Alan J. Pinkerton.
I was going to say Shelley Pinkerton. We just checked to see who's the best mustache. That's what S tier goes into.
Yeah, when I picture a Pinkerton in my head, I picture Jay. I mean, look at the guy.
God.
He definitely seems like a Pinkerton.
You definitely don't want him showing up at your house.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I do feel like I guess point back to the leak situation is the narrative does change a lot when it's like leaks for an upcoming set compared to like the game itself coming out. Because it's like if cards get leaked before a new set, it's like, okay, it's just adding on to what we're already doing. But it really is this is the first time that we're experiencing your all's product. Therefore, it needs to not like be too early kind of idea. I don't know. That was just the one thing I was thinking about with card leaks or.
It seems different because it's just the rules, right? It's not all the cards. If all the cards were leaked and not the rules, I think that's way worse. So I think the entire conversation that we've had up until this point is like in context of what actually leaked, which was like just the rules. This is how you play the game. we still don't know the cards that belong in that game, other than the 7 or whatever that we've seen, and maybe some extra ones that are in the rules document. But yeah.
I completely agree. I think it's a different conversation if like the whole set is.
How much of a catastrophe would that be for them?
I think it'd be pretty bad.
Would that kill the game before it ever came out?
I don't know if it kills the game, but it definitely.
Is there anything they could do to save it either? Like, would they
release
just
it early?
Immediately release the second set on top of the first set?
I think the target audience changes.
Yeah, I think target audience changes. Yeah, I agree.
Talk to your Asmodee overlords and ask for help getting this thing on the ground.
Because like if you play out that scenario, like people like us will be immediately playing the game for the next 8 months until the game comes out. We'll have gotten bored and gotten into it and gotten bored and gotten into it.
Yeah, exactly.
At least 3 times, and then by the time the game comes out, hopefully we're in a cycle where we're excited about it again. But we've already solved everything. So for the 4 months or whatever that exist, because they're doing 3 sets a year, right? So if it's 4 months between new sets, then you have almost a year basically of waiting. Assuming it doesn't come out for 8 months, which I don't know if that's true or not. I think we just kind of made up that number at the beginning. But that
at least 8 months is what we said, because it's.
I think that's bad.
I don't know. I think the solution is simple: release 2 cards a week.
I'll take one. I'm not greedy.
Yeah,
just want one.
Fine.
Just one's fine.
We'll do one for 3 months, and then after Gen Con, let's get 2 a week. Okay.
And 17 weeks, I'll build my deck and be ready.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Give us just enough to talk about.
But just give us the leaders so we can't build decks with them anyway, so it's fine.
There it is.
Yep.
Yeah, show us all the leaders.
That's good. All right, man. I went into this episode thinking like we don't have enough to talk about this week, and it's an hour in, and like, well, here we are. So
here we are.
Great
Still
job.
Listening to that whiny voice of yours.
That's me. No, I'm clipping the compliment part, and I'm reposting that everywhere.
Oh, here we go.
He's gonna listen to that every night before he goes to bed.
Yeah, like my daily affirmations.
Your intros are awesome.
All
right, people. Any final thoughts before we close this thing up?
I have a very quick shout out to the I Rebel podcast. She is shifting to Star Wars Unlimited, and I was the first guest on that series.
Wow.
So
you didn't tell me that.
If you have any interest in listening to more of me, which you very well may not, check out that episode and that podcast in general.
It's not the first time you've been on that podcast.
It is not.
Either, is it?
It is not. I've been on it one time before playing Star Wars Destiny. I think it was episode 16, which she mentioned at the top of the show. I did not remember which episode it was, but I have a horrible memory. So,
if we're giving shout outs, I got to shout out our boy Chris.
Oh yeah. Shout out Chris every episode.
Old Sir Christopher is making content. Everybody, prepare yourselves.
It's great. It's great. Go watch it.
He did a Destiny retrospective episode, and he reminded me of things that happened in Birmingham, Alabama, that I had buried down deep. And his descriptions of a car crash we witnessed in the ice. Everybody was fine. This isn't morbid joke or something. He was fine. But like, just sent me. I was mowing my lawn, like cackling, and my wife's like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine. It's great." So,
and then he also forgot to mention that our hotel was on fire.
Oh yeah, my gosh! I forgot our hotel caught on fire in the middle of an ice storm.
Wow!
Stay tuned for next week where we reveal the story.
I mean, that's it. But good stuff. Any other shout outs?
Yeah, join our Discord.
Yeah, do that.
I haven't said it 3 times.
Oh yeah, we're gonna have a game night event next Saturday night, and we're gonna play some games. I'm gonna get some swag to give away. So I'm thinking some stickers, maybe like some custom play mats, maybe some shirts. Like I don't know, just some like fun, unplayable swag. If you're interested in that kind of thing, join us. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Can we get
We're just gonna
a
kick
mat
it.
with Jay's face that just says the Pinkertons are coming?
Yes.
Oh, please.
Yes. Yes.
Frame it up. Okay, good. And then it says Star Wars Unlimited at the bottom.
I would just give you a box of Flesh and Blood.
Whoever
if you,
you
showed up
are.
there with that.
it's gonna be that scene, a screenshot from that scene in The Shining where Jack Nicholson's like peeking through the
Here's
thing.
Johnny.
Except I'm gonna Photoshop Jay's face over
Jesus.
the door.
Pinkertons are coming.
That's good. All right, well, that'll do it for this week's episode of Unplayable. If you've made it this far, you are a true scholar and celebrity. We appreciate you. See you next time.
Bye.